Hello, I'm Kamal Uriel Be'eri, managing editor of jpost.com, and today I'm speaking with Tzanani, an Israeli bachelor student studying partly in Tel Aviv University and partly in Columbia University. She's majoring in philosophy in the university's liberal arts faculty and minoring in entrepreneurship. Tel Aviv University is just launching an international BA in management and liberal arts program that's coming up this school year. Lee, you definitely have the exact background to know how this degree is going to work, how it's going to operate and make sense in that. So tell me a little bit about what made you go for a liberal arts degree.
Of course. Okay. So I was on a path of being an Israeli post-army and was already working. And I kind of stopped to think for myself, do I want to even do a degree? People here in the industry are like, never mind that, continue and kind of work the way up. And I kind of really felt the need to stop and kind of broaden my horizons in one way or another. And I didn't really know what liberal arts was because we don't really have that in Israel. I know it's really popular abroad in the US. And because I kind of stumbled upon Tel Aviv University's international program that does offer such a thing, I was like, okay, this is very cool. It allows you to kind of touch upon a variety of topics. So if I major in philosophy, I still touch upon many other subjects. We have like the minor and some basic tracks in the core curriculum, which are so wide. And kind of, I just feel like I'm educating myself and really feeding myself in that sense. So that was kind of the reason that I stopped. I was like, okay, the professional path is not all you need to like kind of progress and promote yourself. So the liberal arts was like a perfect fit of also having the philosophy that I really wanted to study, but touching upon many other things.
Right. So philosophy really branches out into every subject imaginable, but it also feels very much the opposite of entrepreneurship. So what made you go for that minor?
Right. So actually, I think that the combination of those things is like a winner. I just adore that, that you're not, pursuing a specific track throughout your 2, 3, 4 years of school. Particularly, I did know that obviously living in Israel and the startup nation and working at a startup, the field of entrepreneurship and innovation would give me a lot in terms of my professional growth, right? Just like learning we had a ton of classes from value creation to marketing to project management to learning more about the VC industry here in Israel, which I was, as a person working in startups, wasn't even aware of. So it's kind of funny, but even though I was already in the industry, it kind of opened my eyes to more possibilities within that industry and not just continuing the path that I was on. And then combining that with like the liberal arts, or specifically philosophy, I feel like I just learned a ton, not on like a scale that I wouldn't learn by myself by reading books and listening to podcasts and all of that good stuff that you could do for yourself. But also I think philosophy in particular, learning how people learned, right? How philosophers learned, how they kind of made their arguments and then trying to make your own arguments. Not that we're trying to be philosophers ourselves, right? But even just like writing a good essay and articulating an idea is kind of, I'm like discovering it as a great tool to like later then in my professional life, even if I'm talking about a product in a startup, but to articulate my ideas better, kind of formulate that and formulate an argument and be more precise. I feel like that is kind of where these two worlds meet. And just in general, feeling that I have more knowledge, for example, in philosophy and literature and history, just like out of the core curriculum even, I just feel like with my executives, I have more of a language because obviously they're much older than me and they might have some knowledge that I didn't have so far. And kind of, it's also impressive and you can speak in their language and kind of create more interesting discussions with them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it takes already the foundation that you built on and just broadens it tenfold, basically, right?
Totally, and like just opens your eyes also to more directions. I would say that's like the major thing. That's like just like yeah.
So can you broaden a bit on how you see like this world of philosophy and entrepreneurship kind of colliding with one another?
So yeah, I feel like first of all, I think entrepreneurship, and especially like I was kind of touching upon that. Entrepreneurship is like storytelling, right? And you have to be as precise as possible. Obviously, when you minor in entrepreneurship, it's not like tomorrow you're going to launch your startup, but it's just like a mindset. I feel like that you build over time, and whether it is like the marketing courses that we took, or anything else, like obviously every startup has a pitch, it has a story to tell, it has a product that has to be very specific, and you can't usually, you need to find a market. Like everything needs to be narrowed down and concise and exact. And I feel like that is something that making my own arguments in philosophy really, really helps me with. And like I was saying, like I feel like seeing, like not only being in the present, like and learning about people from now, but learning about what people said in the past, kind of really gave me just like a better way of thinking, whether it's analytically or whether it's philosophically.
It's also very abstractly, right? And that's something that you don't usually see in the entrepreneurship world, which is usually seen as something more concrete. So how does that kind of overlap?
Right. So it's kind of funny. I've heard this from many people. I don't have like particular examples because I forget, but that like many founders and CEOs actually studied philosophy. Like you're not aware because you think, oh, they probably studied finance, economics, and computer science, obviously. But I think that if you look at like some of the world's biggest CEOs and founders, many of them, and like a very surprising percentage of them studied philosophy. And I think it's just a mentality. It's like it really, because there's obviously you can study a profession, and that's a very a good way of going about things. But this is completely not. You're not studying as long as you don't want to be in academia and etc. You're not studying your profession. So I feel like it's just kind of giving food to your mind, to your thought in the abstract level. And then later on, with that open mind, you can become more accurate in your more like practical ideas, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So it feeds into that from the opposite angle, almost as if understanding both sides is what creates that foundation, right?
Right. Like instead of like studying something particular and like pursuing that, you're kind of coming from the outside inward. Like the funnel is like opposite. If you could, it's like from the bigger picture, and then you narrow it down because you have so much more information, you have so much more ways of thinking, and then you can narrow it down.
Did you have any background in like learning philosophy prior to engaging in the degree?
Not at all. I was always interested, and I like went to lectures on philosophy here and there. But like I think that sitting down with yourself and reading a book in philosophy and like understanding what the philosopher wanted is very hard. It's very challenging. And regardless of the language, you need someone
to guide you through that.
To guide you, like we have courses on like really guided readings of certain philosophers. Obviously, all these philosophers, they live it's not like in a void. Like there's like a connection between them, and obviously a good professor knows how to make these connections between them. So I think those are, by the way, the more interesting lessons. That there's obviously very interesting lessons about Descartes. That's very concise about one philosopher, but like a general course on Greek philosophy and kind of like seeing over the course of a few hundreds of years, few centuries, how their thought progressed was just like mind-blowing.
Right.
And saying that honestly, a lot hasn't changed the way humans have been thinking in the past 2,000 years. And it's, for me, it was just like every day I learned something new in that sense, and it was just exciting.
Yeah. It also gives you a broader aspect on like how the human mind worked and has developed throughout the years, which I'm sure is so useful for entrepreneurship as a whole and for working in business, right? No wonder Tel Aviv University is launching this international BA in management and liberal arts. It seems like the perfect program that combines the skills that are needed from every angle, right? So also speaking of which, I've heard that you're a key member of the Ignite program at Tel Aviv University. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so Ignite, it's the full name is Ignite by Kohler. Kohler is the Faculty of Management, and Ignite is a completely student-run, student-led entrepreneurship club. And yeah, I joined this year, which was the first year that the club went back to activities in person rather than over Zoom, which is amazing. And we have a bunch of activities. The goal is just to spread as much as knowledge and tools as possible in the realm of entrepreneurship and innovation to anyone on campus, and not only people who are studying specifically entrepreneurship. So that's amazing that it really allows everyone to participate regardless of their degree, master's, bachelor, etc. And more significantly for me, it's the opportunity to be in that management team. So the club itself is not a closed entity that you have to sign up to participate. We're just a team of about 10 members in the staff. And we create activities that are open for everyone. So just like being on the staff, on this kind of team that is creating events, we create monthly meetups, for example, with key people from the industry, whether they're CEOs or venture capitalists, and create kind of like meetups where people come to learn whether on campus or off campus, and kind of like accelerators for ideas, not for like a product and for coding, but for people to work. People have an idea for a startup, but it's very, very, very kind of like in the first baby steps, to kind of bring people from the industry and have like a 3-day event of helping them kind of really focus. I was talking a lot about that focus, but like really focus their pitch, their idea, their product, and the product market fit, that we like to say. So there's a bunch of those, and like kind of we try to prepare the students for the end goal, which is the Kohler Startup Competition, which is a yearly competition where the winning startup, there are 3 different startups that can win in 3 different verticals, and they win $100,000, no equity, for their startup, which is like one of the best things you could receive in such an early stage.
That's incredible.
It's amazing. So really
ultimate
kind of
startup nation.
Yeah. So like really, even students that are full-time students, kind of just like guiding and mentoring them. Obviously, it's not us who do the mentoring. I would love to be mentored just as much, and we bring people from outside, from the industry, to really do that work.
Right. And how would you compare that to your experience already working in the field?
So it's very different because, I work at a startup, but it's a unicorn now. So it's a pretty big one. We're 500 people worldwide. So it lost that spark of an early stage startup, or, you can roll your ideas that quickly. So even though it's a startup, I feel like I work at a big company right now. And kind of hearing, and I joined the club just as much as to like create these events, to just hear these lectures for myself and get this data for myself and listen to these great people who come and give lectures. So I just try to soak it all in, basically.
Incredible. Fabulous. So thank you so much, Lee, for speaking with me. It's been great hearing about how your 2 different programs interact with one another and really help you out in the real life world. If anybody wants to hear more from Lee, you'll be speaking right at the introductory online webinar from Tel Aviv University about the new International BA in Liberal Arts and Management, which is occurring on March 2nd. For more information, I'm sure Tel Aviv University will have all the information right there. Thank you so much for speaking with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.